Hi, everyone. This is Matt, and I'm going to be taking a look at the Stanford-Binet intelligence scales, which was the standardized test that I chose. Give a little background of it. It's rooted in the Binet-Simon scales, and Binet was the leader on this project. Simon was his student or protege, and they were created for the French educational system. And the purpose was to detect students with below average intelligence. They wanted to identify kids that had forms of like cognitive disabilities and things of that nature. They couldn't determine a single cause of intelligence or lack thereof. But from that, they were able to create, essentially a series of tests that would be a fairly accurate predictor of students who would either excel or have difficulties in school. Pretty much immediately recognized by educators and colleagues as a meaningful way to assess intelligences in students. In fact, it was so highly regarded that it was quickly adapted into some other languages for use. A psychologist at Stanford University, his name was Louis Terman. He created the first English version, and he incorporated the concept of IQ, or intelligence quotient, that was German psychologist William Stern's idea, and then the test was renamed the Stanford-Binet scale. So it's a test of cognitive ability and intelligence for ages 2 and up. So it's really not targeted at any specific grade level. Anybody who can essentially, take a test, is able to take this and have its results be meaningful. It's conducted through a series of 10 subtests, at least in its 5th edition. 5 of these subtests are conducted verbally, while the other 5 are nonverbal. And they're categorized in 5 different skill categories. 17% of the test is made up of fluid reasoning, 26% is general knowledge, 21% is quantitative reasoning, 18% is visual spatial processing, and 12% is working memory. I go into the purpose here a little bit, and I thought that the citation below here, you'll find it in my references, just phrased it so well. I couldn't have phrased it any better. So these are the bullet points from that review, which again, you can see it at the bottom there, and it's also in my references. But the big two are I have highlighted here, are measuring general cognitive functioning and identifying developmental disabilities and exceptionalities in children, adolescents, and adults. So those are, in my opinion, the two big ones, the two big focuses of it, why it was created and why it continues to be looked to. But there's a variety of other purposes here for this. This is a norm referenced test, and that has a lot of applications here, like, research, assessing early childhood, psychoeducational evaluation, all of those things this can be useful for. But when I think generally as teachers in the classroom, if we're thinking about this, we're probably thinking about those first two more than likely. So the test begins. Normally, for most folks, the test is going to take somewhere between 45 and 75 minutes. Initial subtests are going to be used to determine the starting points based on ability level. Essentially, like it's going to determine where you start in the subtests by those first couple. They kind of place you, and then that sort of determines the difficulty areas of the following subtests. Each subtest score is combined to determine both verbal IQ and nonverbal IQ scores. And then those subcategory scores of verbal and nonverbal are used with the subject's age to determine a full-scale IQ score somewhere between 430 and 520. And then you can derive other scores and things of that nature, like percentile ranks from the data. So validity and reliability, this test goes back a ways. This has been around a long time, which it kind of has this rich history to draw upon. So definitely something that's proven to be valid and reliable. I'll dive into a little bit more of that here. The 5th edition was actually normed against a sample of 4,800 people ages 2 to 85. So again, good for people of any age group. Validity, this is a really deep subject on this, and some of my references dive way deeper into that, but I'm running low on time here already. But basically, it's used. Its validity was proven using a variety of measures, like criterion related, content related, construct related, all of those things. And some of the articles I placed in my references dive much further into what that means. Reliability, it's based against the 5th edition was measured against 4 categories of reliability: internal consistency, test retest reliability, standard error and measurement, and confidence intervals, and inner score agreement. As promised, here are my references. I know I went a little bit over, so I thank you for bearing with me here. If I had to say, if you wanted to know a little bit more about this and didn't want to dive into each of these, I might recommend this first one here, this Community University Partnership for the Study of Children. That review was excellent. It had a ton of information that was really well organized and really dove into the validity and reliability. Secondly, the as far as the history of it, I would recommend taking a look at that history of the bottom reference there, standardbinattest.com, history of the Standard-Binet test. Stanford-Binet test, excuse me. It is just a really fantastic, well-written article that gives you a variety of background information on that. Thanks so much for listening, guys, and look forward to seeing you all in class.